Okay, as I start off kind of some opening comments on this recruiting class, I really want to take a minute and thank our current players. Our current players have done an awesome job here as we've finished out the season with exams and, just really staying focused on finishing the right way and really just the way that they stayed positive this year during a year of challenge and adversity. And, I believe if you have a great culture in your program, that your best recruiters are your current players. And I've seen that in action this year. And a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from recruits and their parents whenever I do exit meetings after official visits is just them talking about their interactions with our players and really being able to sense the positive energy and belief that our players have in where we're headed. So really want to thank them for all their help and hosting all these recruits. This is my 14th signing day as a college coach. And, my first 7 years at Clemson, I was fortunate to be the recruiting coordinator. So recruiting is something that I really love. But one thing that I've learned through the years is that to have a successful signing day like we're celebrating this year, there's a lot of people that are involved in making that happen, and it's not just myself and a few coaches. There's a army of people that really play a key role in making this happen. So I just want to take maybe a minute or two and thank some of them. Really, to me, it starts at the top. We're very fortunate. Y'all hear me speak of this all the time, and it's something I really believe in. We have great alignment in our leadership here at the university. With our University of South Florida Board of Trustees and Will Weatherford, our chairman, Mike Griffin, the vice chair, and all of our trustees, just really the enthusiasm that they have for USF athletics, our president, Rhea Law, and just really the action that they have taken to invest in our athletics program and our football program. I'm very fortunate to sit in a office overlooking the new indoor performance facility that's being built, and there's trucks and tractors and everything moving every day. It's a great site, and also with the serious and ongoing planning for our new on-campus stadium that has me and our players, our coaches, these recruits, and everybody around this university and in this area very excited about the future. So really appreciate their leadership. Jay Stroman, who's the head of our foundation on campus, he and his staff play a pivotal role in that as well. Lalo Prada and his staff at the Bulls Club have done an outstanding job really connecting with our donors, and really want to thank all of our donors that have made, we're in a brand new $1.5 million locker room. Don't think that has had a big impact on recruiting, and our new team room, and obviously the indoor facility. None of those projects would have happened without the gifts and financial commitments from our donors. And so I really appreciate them, and their commitment is definitely paying off with the type of recruits that we're able to bring in. Michael Kelly, our VP for athletics, is just he is a guy that makes things happen, and a guy that I can really lean on. We're trying to be creative. We're trying to think outside the box. We're trying to do some new things in this new environment of college athletics to find ways to really maximize what we have to offer here at USF, and he's been a great teammate in that. And then his staff, Chris Pierce, our new Deputy AD Chief of Staff, she is a problem solver. She looks to find a way to get to a yes, and that's a completely different mindset than maybe people that just look for no's. And you can get a lot more done when you have somebody looking to find a way to get to a yes. And those things matter. Those things add up. She's been a great addition to our staff. Marquita Armstead does a great job really with us trying to communicate with admissions and that whole process. Barry Clements and his team have done a great job really working tirelessly on all of our new projects and facilities in-house here, and then also with the indoor facility. Our compliance staff, Brendan Armitage and Tyler Rutledge, have been great resources for myself and our staff, and anytime that we have a question, being able to go to them and be sure that we're doing things the right way. Rosemary Piedmont, who works in our academic support for our football program. I mean, she's up here on Saturday mornings, on Sunday afternoons, meeting with recruits and families, giving up her weekends for countless times in order for these guys to be able to feel very comfortable about the academic support that they're going to get here. Mike Giglio is our director of recruiting, and really someone I lean on all the time. Roster management. He's got about 28 different spreadsheets that we constantly look at and update, trying to keep up with everything and look for advantages to continue to improve our team. Xavier Dye is our on-the-field recruiting coordinator, does a really good job of communicating with our staff and really leading those efforts. Justin Spiros is really kind of our director of recruiting evaluations. He's got a war room up there that's pretty incredible. It's the first office when you walk in the building. So every day coaches are going in and out, and on one board, he's got all the high school prospects. On another board, he's got all the guys that are in the transfer portal. And on the backboard, he's got the underclass prospects, or underclassmen. But he and the staff of students that volunteer their time to come in there and break down video and get it prepared for our coaching staff has been incredible. Charles Lovitz, our director of on-campus recruiting. He had about a year off last year during COVID, so it's good to get him back working again, getting prospects on campus. And then, like I said, just a lot of student workers that are involved in part of that. And Chip Fontanza is our new AD for brand and digital strategy, and really brought some great energy and ideas to our social media here with the athletic department. And then in-house within our football program, we have Cody Hilburn, Mike Dominic, Tyler Shelton, are three that really work with us every day on trying to be creative. And hopefully our fans, and I know the recruits, have been able to see that impact through social media and graphics. And, just within our own football department, Jeremy Lees and the equipment staff, Lacey and Sierra that really do a lot of things for us upstairs and communicating with the recruits and their parents and helping set up all these visits. Albert Boone, our director of football operations, plays a key role in that. And then we have 5 analysts, we have 4 GAs, we have 10 full-time coaches. So all in all, there's about 60 or 70 people there that really have to do their role to the best of their ability to make a day like this happen. So, I'm standing up here as the head coach, but I definitely want everybody to know that I can't do this alone, and I definitely have not done this alone. And, I believe that the best part of our program is the people. It starts with our players, and then it goes to our staff and everybody associated here at the university. And speaking of people, we're adding a great group of 24 young men that have chosen to be South Florida Bulls. Really excited about that. Of the 24 guys, 13 played their senior year right here in Florida. And then 9 of those 13 played their senior year right here in the Bay Area, somewhere that's a major priority for us. And then outside of the 13 young men from Florida, we had 3 from the state of Georgia, 2 from South Carolina, 2 from North Carolina, 2 from Tennessee, 1 from New Jersey, and 1 from California. So really excited for each one of these young men to be able to come join us right here in Tampa. I think there's really good balance in this class. That's one thing that you look at. You really don't want a class it's too heavy on offense or too heavy on defense. But I believe the way I've got it added up is that we've got 12 on offense, 12 on defense, and 13 young men that played high school ball or maybe just got done playing in junior college ball, and then 11 that are college transfers. And, obviously the opportunity with the transfer portal is something that, I think we felt like would really help us where we are, needing to add some depth. I think if you look over the last 2 years, anytime you come into a program and you're trying to develop a culture, there's always going to be attrition. And we've had a number of guys that would be sophomores right now, would be juniors right now, would be going into their senior year right now. Maybe they have left over the last 2 years. And so I think it's important to replace them with sophomores and juniors and seniors so you can balance out your classes. Of the 11 college transfers, 7 come from the ACC, 2 from our American Conference, 1 from the Big Ten, and 1 from the Big 12. And probably the thing I'm most excited about is 19 of the 24 new signees are going to be enrolling here in January. Here in 3 weeks, 19 of the 24 will be here. And that is so big because, our year really starts in January. A lot of people think it starts in August or September. It starts in January. It starts in the weight room in January with Coach Artis and his staff. in spring ball. That's going to be critical, obviously, with Coach Shoup coming on board, getting all these defensive guys in those meetings and on that practice field, in the spring is critical. And I believe that the 19 newcomers in January, and we may have one or two more before we get there, but the 19 January enrollees is the largest that we've ever welcomed into our program here in the history of the program. So also want to thank Dr. Glenn Besterfield over there at the USF Admissions Department. He and his staff are working overtime to help us get these 19 young men accepted and enrolled into school. A lot of times they have to work over the Christmas break to make that happen. So I really appreciate him being a team player and his staff. And then the last thing that I want to say before I open it up for any questions is, last but not least, I want to thank our fans. Because one thing that has become very apparent to myself, to our coaches, to our players, and to the recruits is in the midst of a very challenging season and a year that we didn't have the number of wins that we wanted to have, our fans have been very positive about the future of this program. And let me just tell you, that resonates with the recruits. The recruits and their families are on social media. And there's some other programs maybe that have a lot of negative energy on social media and out there, and that translates to the recruits and their families. But for us to have a very difficult season and part of a building process, I would say 95% of our fans have been unbelievably supportive of myself, of our staff, of our players. And I've gotten a lot of comments from the recruits and their families just with the positive energy that they've seen from our fans and alumni as we move forward. And I think each one of these young men, they had opportunities to go to other schools. Many of them had opportunities to go to P5 schools, and they chose to come here to South Florida because they believe, just like I believe, that the best is yet to come here as we move forward. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Shoot, I guess where do we start on the big board?
We're just going to work down one at a time here. Yeah, here all day.
I guess we start with the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I got a chance to see both Byram and Gunner play this year. Impressed with both. Both were in that run pass option that you guys liked a lot. Just when you were evaluating those two in particular, just how much did that scheme fit in for you?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. Coach Weiss and I spent hours and hours and hours watching a lot of video with a lot of guys. The NCAA opened up for the first time the ability to do individual workouts in the summer. So we brought in 10 to 12 quarterbacks to throw for us live, one-on-one. And both Byram and Gunner were able to come and throw for us. And so that's kind of one thing, being able to see them throw live and seeing their arm. And then the second thing, in this new age of RPOs, it is critical to have a quarterback that can process and make decisions very quickly. And both of these young men play in those type of offenses right now. And they're very smart, intellectual guys that can make pre-snap, post-snap decisions and be able to deliver the ball out there. But really excited about both of them. And obviously, in this age of college football, you've got quarterbacks come and go. So we knew it was going to be very important that the two guys that we signed in this class needed to be guys that we felt like could come in here and be a big part of our offense moving forward. And couldn't be more pleased about both of those guys.
You spoke to us a couple times about wanting to beef things up, particularly on the defensive line. Can you speak to that regard?
Yeah. We lost 6 of our top 8 defensive linemen. So that was a pretty easy selling point. We had one slide that showed our 2 deep, and then we had another slide that showed the 2 deep coming back, and there were 6 people gone. And so somebody's got to step up. And so I think when you have opportunity, I think of a guy like Eddie Kelly, right? Eddie Kelly is a defensive end, very talented. He came to our camp this summer. He was already on our radar as a tight end. He came to our camp this summer as a tight end, and we actually talked to him and his head coach, Coach Granada, said, he would make a pretty special defensive end. And those guys are really hard to find. And so he ended up playing defensive end this year. And, we had already offered him, and we had him coming for an official visit on that weekend. And the Monday before he came on the official visit, his mid-season highlight tape got out. And within 48 hours, he had offers from a bunch of major programs in this state and in the Southeast. But I think for him, number one, he was looking for the right culture and environment to play in. And number two, he was looking for opportunity. I mean, this is a guy that has the ability to be able to come in and have a early impact because of his athleticism. And I think also really looking at, those guys in the middle, that was a big part, being able to get some, defensive tackles that could help us in there. I know Coach Shoup will talk a little bit more about our scheme, but, probably going to be a little bit more 4 down than 3 down. So really needing 2 guys inside that could, 2 deep of those guys inside. And so, Clyde Pender is a young man that I knew from Clemson whenever we recruited him up to Clemson. And whenever we found out he was in the portal, I think Justin Spiros has a text alert. Whenever somebody gets in the portal, it's like an Amber Alert. It goes out throughout the entire building, alarms and everything starts sounding off. And I think 15 seconds after he was in the portal, we were on the phone with him very quickly. And because we knew all about him being at Armwood with Coach Evan Davis. So he's the guy we're really excited about. James Ash, coming from Wake Forest, played at Chamberlain. Again, very athletic, big guy, probably could play both inside and outside. We're going to try to see if we can keep him inside right there. Nick Baggs, the reality of that, this is the new age. We're getting ready to play Temple. We watched their first couple of games, and we thought their best defensive lineman was this freshman defensive lineman named Nick Baggs. And then we watched the next 2 games. He wasn't playing, so we get our GAs to see if he got hurt. They found out he got in the portal and was talking about moving to Florida. So as soon as our game was over that week with them, we got on the phone with him, we offered him, and that's how you're finding players now. I mean, it's amazing how it creates a little awkward conversation maybe at midfield before the game, but man, he is special. He's 6'3", 300, and he loves football. He is all about ball. He loves it, and he became one of our best recruiters. Him and his mom, Nikki, is a special lady, and man, they came down here, fell in love with the place. And really, if you go back to his commitment, that was one of the big ones that from that point on, it really, we got on a hot streak there. And he was a big part of that. He was calling the other players and telling them about why South Florida is special and why they need to come and join and be a part of that. And then, both Jalen Hobbs and Jaquez Williams are 2 young men that we were going to sign last year. And then towards the end of the year, we found out that so many of our defensive linemen were going to use their super senior year and come back. So because of roster management, we had to ask them to be patient. And they were getting ready to come in January last year. And so we had to ask them to wait a year and come in this January. So they've been waiting a long time, and we're really excited about having them come join us.
Talking more a little bit about the close that you guys had, I think you guys did the numbers, not including today, it was like 15 and 48 days or something like that, from like October 15th or something along those lines. How important was the close? Because it looked like y'all valued those fall official visits a lot more than the summer one.
Yeah.
Just when you guys close like that, kind of,
yeah.
what was that process?
I kind of like what's going on right now because it takes me back to 10 years ago when it was December recruiting. We kind of got to a point a couple years ago where recruiting's done. I mean, I know at Clemson we started 3 years, before they were seniors. And then by the time they're going in their senior year, they were done, they were committed, it was over. And you didn't have a chance for that guy that had that great senior year. And now with the transfer portal that's going on and all the guys that are available there, you really want to wait as long as possible to make your decisions. And so I think for us, we knew that this was a critical class for us, especially defensively, with how many guys we needed to replace and how we needed to improve our talent and depth on the defensive side of the ball. So for us, our big message to our staff was, let's be patient. I'm sure there was some fans out there that were probably a little bit nervous about what was going on. But really, we wanted to see who was going to be available in the transfer portal and see how they matched up against the guys that were in high school that we were recruiting. So at the end of the day, we could take the best fit and best player for what we need right now. So I think that was part of it, was kind of being patient and really kind of, give an opportunity for some of the, we knew after the last regular season game, there was going to be an influx of guys getting in the portal. And so it was about being patient and taking the right guys and not just going out and taking a bunch of commitments. But because of that, it made, like you said, the last 48 days probably a little bit busier, but it also was a lot more fun. It kind of reminded me of my first couple years there at Clemson, where we were, kind of building and finishing off the class right there in the last month leading up to signing day. So it was a lot of fun, but I know my 6-year-old daughter Savannah asked me last night, when are you going to be home, like, for good, like all day? And I said, give me about 3 days. I'm going to be there, because there's been a lot of late nights away, but it's been great.
In the old days of when it was almost exclusively high school, you get guys who, they get to college and really physically advance, put on a lot of weight and grow, and now you're getting guys that are 2 or 3 years into it,
Yeah.
that are, for lack of better words, grown men,
Yeah.
especially on defense. Could you just speak about the influx of
Yeah.
these physical bodies that are different than maybe an 18-year-old body might be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we're in a changing time. There's a lot of positives and negatives to it. And, I could have my own thoughts and opinions on it. But kind of for sitting where we are right now and trying to be strategic, and how can my number one job is number one, to develop our current players that we have on the roster, right? Both academically and athletically. And then the next piece is to add talent. This is a talent acquisition business. I mean, don't get it misconstrued. And I mean, it's all about players and having great players. And so, for me, I think this transfer portal, and we've already documented and kind of went through the whole process, that many of these guys went to school in 2019. They went to college in 2019. They redshirted in 2019 like most freshmen do. And then 2020, they played a little bit. That year didn't count. 2021, they played a little bit. That counted as their first year of eligibility. So when they show up here, next fall, they're going to be going into their 4th year of college, but they're going to have 3 years of eligibility. And just like you said, for 3 years, they've been eating on a training table. They've been training with a college strength coach. They've been practicing against really good players for 3 years. I mean, that's like a minor league, right? And now you're bringing them up to the major league for them to go play for 3 more years. And, the other side of it is the young man coming out of high school, 17, 18, he shows up about to start and go through that for the first time, and he has 1 extra year of eligibility than those 20, 21-year-old guys. And so I'm not saying that every year is going to be like this. I think each year it kind of depends on your current roster, your needs, and where we are this year defensively, and just where we are in our building process. It was a year that we really wanted to take advantage of that. And I think the combination of the one-time transfer and that extra COVID year is what's made this unlike anything in the history of college athletics. And so I'm very fortunate. When my dad was the head coach at South Carolina back in 1993, 94, and he needed to improve his team, he had to sign 25 high school kids, and 3 years from then, he'd find out if it worked or not. And it was either yes or no. And now each year you have a chance to actively improve your team and improve your roster if you do it strategically the right way, and I feel like we definitely have this year.
Coach Swinney said, I think today, that he sees the transfer portal as total chaos, as he said. Obviously, you're on the complete opposite spectrum of that with the amount of transfers that you brought in. What's your, overall kind of, feeling about how the transfer portal has kind of changed the landscape?
I'll let you know in 2 years, right? I mean, that's what we're going through this for the first time. I mean, it's literally like we're going on a track that nobody's ever been on, going down a trail nobody's ever been on. And so what we talk about this year, eat, right? Embrace it, attack it, and do it together, right? And it's going to take everybody moving forward. So, is it chaotic? Absolutely. Is there a lot of negative, unintended consequences to this? Absolutely. But are there positives for a program like ours that needs to rebuild and improve and add to our current roster? Absolutely. And so that's really what my focus is right now. And, we're trying to do everything we can within the current rules and to improve. And to be honest, it's fun. I mean, whenever you're going through something like we're going through right now, and you have a chance to quickly add some talented players and size and length and experience to your roster, unlike has ever been available to any coach in the history of college football, like, that's a fun thing to do. And I think for me, what's been rewarding is watching our current players embrace these guys as they've come on visits and social media. And I know they're looking forward to these new guys getting here in January and adding to our team and to our depth.
As you selected these defensive linemen specifically in that scenario where you had to add, I know you want to get a better pass rush, what qualities do these guys have that you could identify? Say, yeah, that's our kind of guy.
Yeah.
What do they possess that they're going to bring here?
Well, Yeah, I think big thing is length. I felt like we needed to get longer at the defensive line position. And you look at a guy like Eddie Kelly, 6'5", long arms. He's got great length, to be able to work off the edge. And then those guys inside, I would say Clyde Pender. And, you don't want the same person. You don't want 5 of the same person, right? You want, it's kind of like a pitcher. He has different pitches, right? And Clyde is that guy that just has great change of direction, great speed, quickness, plays really low to the ground, has a high motor. And, both James Ash and Nick Baggs, these are big, jumbo athletes, really big size, long arms, know how to play with their hands, be able to get off blocks. So those are some of the things that you can see on video. And what's fun for me is I'm going through the process, which I'll talk about here in a minute as I introduce Coach Shoup, is I'm going through interviewing defensive coordinators and looking at schemes and what we're going to be doing. And I'm also over here talking to recruits and trying to figure out which guys kind of fit that. And neither of them are able to talk to each other yet. And so I'm kind of the one person in the middle. So that was a lot of fun, and especially whenever Coach Shoup got hired, being able to show them the success that he's had with his defensive linemen at the places he's been definitely made an impact.
Baggs and Asher, like the 3 technique kind of guys?
Yeah, I'll let Coach Shoup kind of figure that out with Coach Bowers whenever they get here. But yeah, I mean, I think that the good thing is those guys are a little bit, have definitely some different skills and can move around at several of those different spots. And we do have some good guys that are coming back from this past year as well that we'll be able to kind of add to that mix. But I think we're going to look completely different with our defensive line, and really excited to get out there this spring.
Beyonce Hunter, obviously the newest of the bunch that you didn't get a chance to talk about on the live stream. What's stood out to him in the recruiting process?
He's long. He is. We knew he was a big guy, but whenever he showed up and got out of the car, we went, wow. I mean, this guy's like 6'4", long arms, super athletic. He can run. South Georgia has some really good football where he was there at Lowndes. I know their head coach very well. And, Jamie DeBose, he was actually Justin Ross's and Ray Thornton's coach at Central, Phoenix City, whenever I recruited those guys. But, he's a long athlete. He's a guy that chose South Florida over some ACC schools and an SEC school that had offered him. And really, I think seeing the opportunity, to be honest, we're sitting in his living room a week ago. Fortunate to have the South Florida jet. Went from Miami, and we flew up to Valdosta, got there about 9 o'clock at night, and Coach Shoup had his laptop, hooked it up right there in the living room, and started talking some ball. And I think being able to see how he would fit in our scheme, how he's a different body type than maybe that we currently have. That's another thing. I really like some of the guys that we have returning, but trying to find some guys that maybe bring us something a little bit different that we can have out there. And he's just a long athlete. And that was one, again, I want to give Coach Ernie Sims a lot of credit on the recruitment of Beyonce Hunter, because that was one yesterday that was going back and forth, and Coach Sims did a great job. And while I'm saying that, I also want to announce that Coach Ernie Sims is going to be our co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. Coach Shoup will be our defensive coordinator, and he'll call the defense, and Coach Shoup will coach our safeties. But Coach Sims has earned the promotion to co-defensive coordinator. He did an outstanding job there in our last game, and he's got a very bright future ahead of him, and we're very fortunate to have him here. But Coach Sims did a big-time job with Deontay and his family yesterday, and we finally got the word late last night that he was going to be a Bull. So that was big news.
Jeff, you emphasized character, too, and players that are coming into the program.
Yeah.
You could speak at least to that general standpoint of
Yeah.
character.
No, that's huge. And, when people say, man, they're going to take transfers, right? Well, 5 years ago, when you're thinking about transfers, there's probably a high percentage that there's a major reason or a red flag, and guys got kicked out of school, and, these major issues. Well, now, because the transfer portal has become so mainstream, there's a lot of great kids that are getting in the portal that just are looking for an opportunity, a little different opportunity. And so I still believe that, it doesn't matter if we're going to look at a high school young man, a guy out of JUCO, or a guy out of the transfer portal. There's about 4 boxes that need to be checked. The first one, obviously, to get on the radar is athletically. Do they have the skill and talent to help us build a championship program. The second thing is academically. Do they take their academics serious? Is it a priority for them to work hard in the classroom and earn that degree? And then the third piece is kind of that character piece. You know, who are they as a young man? What are they going to add value to our locker room with positive energy and work ethic and all those things, or negative? And then the fourth thing is, do they love football? I mean, that's something going on right now. There's a lot of young men that were bigger than their classmates, so they started playing football. By playing football, all of a sudden the girls wanted to talk to them, so they kept playing football. And then all of a sudden their mom and grandmom are proud of them because they're going to college. And then they wake up in their college and they're like, I don't love this. This isn't what I want to do, right? So it's important to find guys that love ball. Like that is probably one of the biggest questions you got to find out. And there were certain guys in this process that we ended up going away from. They might have been higher recruited or rated or whatever, but we just didn't get a sense that they loved ball and were willing to do the things required to be great. But what I can tell you, I owe it every time that I'm meeting with a young man and I'm getting to know him. I'm thinking about our current team, our current locker room. I'm thinking about the parents of our current players, and are they going to be proud of us adding this young man to this locker room? Like, that's literally the filter that I'm going through, because we've worked extremely hard. One thing that I'm very proud of, and I think our players would tell you, is, man, that locker room has changed. Not just physically, it's changed, but the culture in that locker room is very, very strong. And that's how I can stand up and do press conferences after a difficult year with a smile on my face, because I know from experience that's where it starts. And that, I think that optimism of that culture that we have in our locker room is what these recruits are seeing. I mean, we just recruited a class as if we just won 9 or 10 games this year. That's the kind of class that we've recruited. But the reason we were able to do it this year without that type of season is because of the energy and the culture in our locker room. So that's something I'm very protective in, right? And I think it was Bo Schembechler that had a famous quote. He said, there may be a great player out there that, man, you just really love and you think he's a great player, and but he's got some red flags, right? And you decide not to sign that player because of the red flags. He may go somewhere else and he may beat you once a year. But you sign him on your team anyways, when you know about the red flags, he beats you every day of the year, right? Now, I experienced that my first year here. That's a true quote, right? And now, man, it's so much different, man. It's enjoyable to come to the office and be around these young men. And so I have to protect it. It's kind of like a garden that you've kind of pulled out some weeds. It keeps coming. You got to be very intentional, right? You don't get what you expect, you get what you inspect. And so every one of these young men, you know, they're not perfect. Obviously, they're 17, 18, some of them 22 years old, right? But, you know, who are they, and do they have the character and integrity that is required to represent the University of South Florida?
We're going to hear from Coach Shoup.
Yep.
I just wondered if you could just talk about, you know, when you made your change and you got a game to prepare for, you're trying to find a defensive coordinator. You must have had in your mind kind of the quality or qualities that you wanted from your new defensive coordinator. How did it end up with Coach Shoup? What led you to him, and what was the big thing that made you know that he's your guy?
Can I pause and say we're going to come back to that? Just want to make sure if there's anything else. That's a great lead-in. Anything else recruiting-wise, because once we go there, we're there.
How do y'all finish this class? What does the rest of this look like? Are you trying to get to that 32 number?
Yeah.
If you have the space allotted for it?
So we're not, we have, due to the NCAA penalties of the previous era, we are short 2 counter spots. So, and then we took 1 blue shirt last year in Yusuf Terry. So that's 3 spots. So the most that we could sign, and I don't know that we'll get to that number because I don't know if we'll have that amount of attrition, but the most we possibly could sign would be 29. If we had 32 players leave, we could sign 29 initial counters for this class. But we have room for maybe a couple more, and we, you know, purposely probably the last 2 positions, there's maybe room for 1 more offensive lineman, maybe room for 2 to 3 more defensive ends, and maybe room for 1 to 2 corners. That's kind of really where our priorities are left. There may be 1 or 2 guys that make a decision here over the next week, the transfer guys really don't have to make the decision by today. That's more the high school guys. So we're in talks with a couple guys, 1 or 2 guys that could be here in January. And then after that, we just want to be super selective with the last couple spots, maybe go through spring practice, let Coach Shoup get a look at our defensive personnel so we know after spring, what are we looking for? Are we looking for this type of body type or position that maybe we need to add a little bit more depth on? So it takes a little bit of discipline to hold back and not just go use all 29 of those spots today. But there'll be more guys getting in the portal after the bowl games here over the next 2 weeks. And but really, I want Coach Shoup to have a chance to get to know our personnel, be able to see the guys that are coming in, and maybe have 1 or 2 more of those spots for after spring ball.
Any other recruiting questions before we shift gears?
Good. All right. You had a great lead-in to Coach Shoup. So, going into number one, again, I just want to, echo the comments I made earlier. Just really proud of both Ernie Sims and Daniel DePrada and that defensive staff of what they did during a short week there getting ready for our last game. And it was probably the best defensive performance that we had all year. And that really, gave me a lot of confidence of what we have coming back defensively. And for me, I did not want to rush the process. I knew this is a very important hire for our team. And so I took my time and really talked to 4 highly qualified candidates that have been successful at different levels from the NFL all the way to guys that were very successful at the FCS level. And, really what I was looking for are qualities. I was looking for someone that had a great knowledge and experience of all the different things required defensively to be great. I was really looking for a defensive coordinator that had experience and maybe a style of play or scheme that allowed for sacks and tackles for loss, because that's been a big area of emphasis for us where we need to improve. And, I wanted a defensive coordinator that could take our personnel and find ways to maximize it, find ways to be aggressive, bring pressure, but at the same time, not always put the guys in the back end and cover zero every time we may choose to bring pressure, and being very multiple. And I did not have any, kind of preconceived notions going into it. I really wanted to give everybody an opportunity and really met with some qualified candidates. But it was very obvious after meeting with Coach Shoup that, man, really the comments between my dad and I, my dad was kind of an advisor for this as well and was involved with all those interviews. And when Coach Shoup got done, he said, man, if we got an opportunity to hire this guy, we need to jump all over it and as quick as possible. But, Coach Shoup, I know you guys read a lot of this, but 17 years of defensive coordinator experience, that's very important for me. My background is offense. I really, want to be able to spend a little bit more time in that offensive room with Coach Weiss and our offensive staff, and really looking for someone that really can lead our defense and kind of be the head coach of the defense from a scheme and day-to-day basis. First got to meet Coach Shoup and his wife in 2018. Both he and I were fortunate to be finalists for the Broyles Award, and you go to Arkansas for the weekend, and that's the first time that I got an opportunity to meet him. At that time, he was the defensive coordinator for the #1 defense in the country at Mississippi State, where they were number 1, 2, or 3 in about 6 or 7 different categories, and I was the co-OC there at Clemson. And, that was really the one time that we met. And, then, had this opportunity and knew that he was down at Miami and reached out and brought him up here. But, he's been the defensive coordinator of the year in 2018, 2014. And I think the fact that also you go back to the beginning of his career when he was the defensive coordinator at William and Mary and took over for maybe one of the worst defenses in the country and very quickly turned that around. That was something else that I was looking for, because we really need to improve. But I think everywhere that he's been, if you look at how the defense ranked in team sacks and tackles for loss, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I know at Penn State in 2015, his team finished #1 in the country in sacks, #6 in TFLs. And then you go to 2018 Mississippi State defense, they were #1 in the SEC in both sacks and TFLs. And he's coached some incredible players, and it's been fun for me. He hit the ground running, got here last Monday, and we got him in some homes and be able to talk some ball. I mean, those recruits were sitting there just eating out of his hand. And because of his knowledge, his ability to communicate, he's a teacher. He's a teacher of players. He's a teacher of coaches. I think we got some excellent young coaches in our defensive staff room that are going to be able to benefit being around someone with Coach Shoop's knowledge and experience. And it's been awesome for me to see our current players. I mean, just daily, they've been coming up there in the hallway and coming back the next day to spend more time with him. And I could not be more confident in the direction of our defense under Coach Shoop, and really pleased to have him here, and looking forward to getting out there and competing here in the spring. So with that, I'm going to bring up Coach Shoop and make a couple comments and answer a few questions.
All right. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Hey, guys. I'm not sure if you guys want me to say something or if you guys want to.
Why don't you open with a statement, and then
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, I definitely want to thank Coach Scott, for the opportunity. I can't begin to tell you guys how excited I am to be here. I've been doing this for a long time, and like Coach said, I met he and his wife Sarah about 3 years ago at the Broyles Award banquet, and I was so impressed with him at that point. And you kind of make a mental note as a coach sometimes, if I ever have the opportunity to work with this guy, boy, that'd be pretty cool. When he got the job here, I thought it was a great opportunity for him. I think he's certainly the right man for the job, and the feeling was mutual. Whenever the job came open, we both kind of reached out to each other at the same time. It's kind of a bizarre set of circumstances, really. And I came up here from Miami on the day after our last game and spent the evening with he and his dad, and it validated all the feelings I had. And as much as he was just very complimentary to me about the feelings about hiring me, I felt the same way about being here. I'm so excited to be a part of this football family. I'm so excited about being a part of the USF community. I'm so excited about being part of the Tampa Bay community as well. Have had the opportunity. I've really met, now spent a lot of time both on the recruiting trail for these past 10 days and the last 3 days in the office with our staff. I'm really looking forward to working with those guys. Coach hit it on the head. I mean, Daquan Bowers was certainly a great player at Clemson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and can provide a lot of leadership and mentorship to the D linemen that we have on our current roster and the transfer guys coming in. Ernie's a special guy. Ernie Sims has really got a big personality, and I'm really looking forward to working with him and helping him on his coaching journey. And George is a veteran like me. George and I actually worked together 10 years ago. We worked together for 2 years at Vanderbilt, and that was a really kind of a nice, comfortable feeling for me, knowing that he was here. And we spoke a couple times before I took the job, and I'm looking forward to getting back with George. Now, it's funny, the defense is fairly similar, but some of the words have changed. So George and I go back and forth, and we're talking in meetings, and we're kind of laughing. He goes, "You call it that now?" And I say, "Yeah, I call it that now." So it's been good, and just looking forward to diving in. And these last couple days before Christmas, it's been a whirlwind these 2 weeks. Looking forward to a little bit of time off, enjoying the holidays with family, and then getting back going in January. Really, really excited to get going.
As I'm sure you've seen the last couple of years, just statistically, the defense hasn't put the pressure on that they wanted to, and you've had some defenses that have done that. Is the key to getting that better, identifying the right kind of players, having a certain scheme, or how do you come in and turn that stat around?
Well, first, it's funny that you said that, because when the job opened up, I mean, everybody in the coaching profession, sees online that a job opens up, and you start to look at different things. I look at the statistics, and the statistics from last year, certainly indicate, that the defense wasn't very good. But when you put it on the film, it tells a little bit of a different story. I think we're fairly athletic. I think we have, decent team speed. I think, I think the guys played really, really hard, even in the most difficult of circumstances. You look sometimes at the end of the games when it's not the outcome has sort of been determined already, and I still see guys flying to the football and playing really, really hard, and we created a bunch of turnovers. And not only did we create them, we seemed to know which direction to go when we created them. I think we had a pick six and another one where Christian Williams maybe brought it back to the inch line right there. So, I think the identity of the team tells a little bit of a different story than the statistics. So that excited me. I watched all the games on film when I knew I was interviewing for the job. I certainly didn't know who was who or this or that or the other thing. I was just trying to get a feel for who the Bull defense was. And then when I've met these players, every one of them wants to be good. they're really excited about this opportunity. Sometimes you just need a fresh start, like these guys in the transfer portal. And that's what I've been a point of emphasis to these guys. It's a fresh start. It's a clean slate. I've heard from the coaches, some of your strengths, some of your weaknesses. I've watched you on film. How good do you want to be? Where do we want to go from here? And that's been positive. But yes, Coach talked about scheme. And when we interviewed, I think a good defensive coach can tailor his scheme to what his players are capable of doing. I think that's really important, rather than try to fit a square peg into a round hole. But the one thing that I think Coach and I both agree on is a style of play. I just remembered a couple years ago when I went to a clinic and I heard an offensive coach talk about, we're going to attack cover 2 this way. We're going to attack man free this way. We're going to attack 3 deep this way. And when you hear defensive coaches talk, they always talk about, we're going to adjust to trips this way. We're going to adjust to a 2x2 this way. This is the way we adjust to empty. And I said, no, we got this thing backwards. Then we're not going to adjust. We're going to attack. So, I don't talk a lot about scheme, but I talk about a style of play. And our style of play will be an in-your-face style of play, built on relentless pursuit, never-ending pressure. It's going to be full court press, for 60 minutes, from the first snap of the game to the last snap of the game. And as I told Coach, I only write 2 things on the top of my game plan, and one is solve your problems with aggression, and the other is no conscience. And I want our guys to play with an absence of fear, and I want it to be a team that, A, the offensive coordinator and the quarterback on the other team think, holy crap, do those guys have 14 guys on the field? And B, I want our fan base to come out and say, that's a fun style defense to watch, and our players to say that's a fun style defense to play.
So not on your heels, it's go after them.
It's not on our heels, no. It's certainly attack, be aggressive in every aspect that you possibly can, without being reckless, but being aggressive in the appropriate way.
What did you see, you touched on a little bit what you saw on film. What were some of the things that did you get a chance to talk with some of the guys about, what you saw, maybe what you wanted to improve with, guys that have been here a while like Griffin Ward?
Yes, not before taking the job, obviously. It wasn't like that, but, one of it's been, as Coach said, Coach used the term whirlwind, and I've been here since last Monday, and obviously the focus has been on signing day. We've been trying to do a great job finishing this early recruiting period. But in between, in the moments I was in the office, from early morning to late evening, I've been trying to meet with as many players as I can. Many of them are already home for the holidays. They had finished their finals. But as Coach said, those guys come in, anytime there's change, there's a little bit of anxiety. So they'll knock on the door, want to introduce themselves. And I always say this, it's really about relationships. And the players don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And spending time with these guys and emphasizing that we're going to bring a structure and discipline to the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to play a style of play that is conducive to their skill sets and things like that. But I have met with Antonio, I've met with Dwayne, and matter of fact, we were in the office today for about an hour and a half just talking ball and talking about their life and everything. They both graduated last week, which we're really proud of, and those guys are very experienced football players. I've talked to Micah Lapointe. I've spent time with Christian Williams and Daquan Evans. A lot of those guys who are veteran players. And between those veterans who've played a lot of football and been here with some recruited as far back as Coach Taggart, played for Coach Strong, and now played for Coach Scott. And I don't think anybody played for Coach Taggart, but he began the recruitment for some of these guys. They've seen the good and they've seen the bad, and they're hungry, and they want to get to a bowl game again. They want to get to postseason play. They want to build a championship caliber defense. So between that, and as Coach addressed in the recruiting piece, it's never been easier than it is in 2021 to change your roster really, really quickly. Certainly it's the traditional style of recruiting where you're recruiting high school players, and the emphasis there has been, certainly players locally in the 813, and then this transfer portal thing's a game changer. And we're really the test pilot. We really, really are. We could be a 30 for 30 story on this thing, after a year or two. This could be something special where suddenly you go from not a very good defense to a really good defense. And I'm excited to see these guys. These guys up front, I don't know that much about. Bags, Pender, and Ash, I'm very excited to see. I certainly think, Coach alluded to it, I don't think we're done at the defensive end position yet. I don't think we're done at the corner position yet. I think there's, it's almost rolling admissions to a college now. This thing could, guys enter the portal, we're on top of them as quickly as we can because we have as really efficient a recruiting office as I've ever seen. This kid DJ Gordon, we didn't talk much about him at linebacker, but I mean, because we have good linebackers, but he's going to come in and I think he's coming here with the hopes that he's going to compete for a starting position as well. And competition is a good thing, not a bad thing, I assure you that. And in the secondary, Ray Thornton, between him and A.B. Brown, who's from Armwood here, and Tavin Ward, those guys are coming in too with the expectation they're going to play. And I like to play a lot of guys. I think the more guys that you play, the higher the morale certainly, and the better the ownership. And I tell guys, we have several different packages. You were asking about different packages as far as providing pressure, and certainly a player could be he could be a starter on a cheetah package, or he could be a starter on a dime package. He may not start in base defense, but he can have a role. And if a guy could have a role, the more guys that have a role take ownership of that. And as I said to Coach in the interview, I mean, I'm a big believer that the players will play the amount that they deserve to play, the right amount that they deserve to play. I mean, and I like playing a lot of guys. I think the key is up front too. And, the good teams I've ever been on, had really deep defensive lines and could roll guys in and out and could keep guys fresh for a key third down, for the second half of a game, for a fourth quarter clock situation, for the long season. I mean, we need to keep guys fresh. And if you're playing too many snaps up front, that's probably going to be, you're going to see things happen in the fourth quarter games. You're going to see things happen in the second half of the year.
When you look at this USF staff, obviously Coach Scott, this is his first head coaching job. You got Coach Weiss and Ernie Sims and a lot of young guys. Do you think your experience alone, just your presence, is going to add something even beyond, what you draw up, and just your veteran experience, just being around these guys?
Coach talked about my experience at William & Mary, and I would share my experience at William & Mary and Vanderbilt, but that's a little different thing. My experience at Miami this past year, I mean, I've been coaching, I'm going to put it a different way. Coach said 30-some years. I've been coaching in 5 different decades: the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s, which makes me sound a lot older, But when you say it that way, I've seen the good, and I've seen the bad, and I've seen everything in between. And Manny Diaz gave me a great opportunity to be an analyst at Miami this past year, and I shared. I mean, it was a humbling experience. There I was as an analyst at Miami, sharing a cubicle, with 4 GAs in the room. There I am, 55 years old, and these guys are all between the age of 20 and 27. And, they're looking at me, every word I say, they're hanging on, because I was coaching before these guys were even alive. And that was a valuable lesson to me. And I think about every day I walk in, certainly to our players, my role is to be a teacher, leader, and role model. But when Coach told me, he described, I watched the last game. We were traveling to Duke, and I knew this thing might come to fruition. And I watched the last game, and Coach during that experience shared with me that Ernie and Daniel were going to coordinate the defense, and I'd known George, and he beamed with pride when he spoke about, Ernie and Daniel and some of the young coaches on the staff. And that was something that really, really excited me, the thought to be able to help these guys as they are at a different part of their coaching journey maybe than I am, and to help those guys grow as coaches and be a mentor, be a teacher and a leader and a role model of those guys. Charlie, same way. I mean, I didn't know Charlie, and, I certainly, as a coach when I was probably his age, followed his father and was a big fan of the Patriots and all those things, and followed that experience. And, I had a friend of mine on the staff at Miami who had coached with Charlie with the Falcons, said, "You're going to love him. He's a savant. Just talk ball with him." And I've only known Charlie now since Friday or Saturday, and we've had some great football discussions and the give and take and things like that. So, I have a role, and my role is to build the best defense that I can. That's what Coach hired me to do. But my role is to be a teacher, a leader, and a role model both to our players and to our young coaches. And I'm at that stage in my career that's what I want. I told Coach, my desire, at one point in my life, I had a desire to be a head coach. I really don't right now. That's not what I want. I'm just happy to be here and appreciative of this opportunity, and want to do whatever I can to validate Coach's confidence in me and build the type of defense and make the relationships and do my job within the framework of this organization.
So given the way the transfer portal works, how important was it for you to start when you did to get these guys?
Well, other than a couple of these guys were all committed before I got here. So, I mean, these guys did an unbelievable job. They did the heavy lifting. I'm sure those players, I think the transfer portal nowadays is a little bit like a guy who wants, Coach said it, I mean, 5-6 years ago, player X enters the transfer portal, oh, what's wrong? Is it in academics? Drug problems? What do you get, is he a problem in the community? I mean, what's the problem? Nowadays, it's a fresh start, a clean slate, just not the role that he had hoped for on his current roster. So, to me, these guys did a great job. I mean, arguably, trend-setting job. I mean, nobody's ever done anything like this before. I mean, we are really rebuilding an entire a defensive line, certainly, and possibly an entire defense based on the transfer portal. Now, Coach is right. You got to do your research because you can't bring in a bunch of guys who are renegades or anything along those lines. And I've talked to every one of these guys I've talked to on the phone. I've shared my vision for the defense. I've shared my expectations for them, without knowing them. Work hard. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. We're going to provide structure. We're going to provide discipline. Can you do this? Are you willing to do that? Do you understand, I need you to execute within your role on the defense. So, this is, and at the very, very end, I was involved with Ray Thornton at the end, and that was great because he's especially my position, and it was easy to fall in love with him, and he's certainly a guy who our expectations are very, very high. He was a real contributor at Clemson, and he played on a high school state championship team. When he was at Clemson, he was a contributor on a team that played in a national championship game. He's a winner. He's smart. He's tough. He's unselfish. He fits all the things that I think fit the culture that Coach Scott's trying to build here, and he fits our defense. So he's really, in that respect, the only one that I really had a significant hand in getting to close on. Now, some of the other guys, Eddie Kelly, I did a home visit with him and Deontay, who aren't the transfer portal guys. And as I said, I've talked to every one of these other guys, and they're as excited as I am. And I told them this was exactly what I said. I said, enjoy the Christmas with family and friends, because from now on, we ain't taking a Christmas break. We're going to postseason play. And when you come back, get ready to work hard, because we're laying the foundation for an American Conference Championship defense.
Coach, you mentioned growing as a coach, the different stops you've had in your career. And for 3 years, you had perhaps one of the most challenging positions in all of Division I football. That was the head coach at Columbia.
Oh, geez.
And could you talk about what that did for you, what you learned from that, and the growth that derived from that?
That was a different time and a different place. I mean, I've my experiences at Columbia, we were not very successful. We were 7-23. But I think the thing you learn as a coach, as a head coach, assistant coaches in college football, to a certain extent, are independent contractors, meaning they come and go. But when you are the head coach, you are responsible for everything in that organization. I mean, from the relationships you have with the administration, the alumni, the campus, every coach, every student athlete, every person who's a part of your team right there. And to me, that's, I guess, the thing I learned is what a challenge, how difficult a job that is to wear all the different hats that you have to be as a head coach. I enjoyed it. We weren't very successful. I learned a great deal from that, and I'm very, very proud of, what I've been able to accomplish as a coach since that. And I think a lot of what I've been able to accomplish is because of the lessons that I learned as a coach. I learned, certainly, I learned humility during that experience as well. Before Coach brought up William and Mary, the two experiences that are most similar to this experience are I became the head coach, or the defensive coordinator at William and Mary in 2007, and inherited a defense that really was historically bad at William and Mary as far as giving up yards and points. And by 2 years later, with a group of players that worked hard and a staff that worked really hard and was committed to our ideals and beliefs, we turned it into the #1 defense in FCS football, and we were a FCS playoff semifinalist. And that was a really, really fun turnaround. And we did it through, like I said, by an in-your-face style of defense. We played hard, we played smart, we played tough, and we had a lot of fun. And from that opportunity, then James Franklin got the head coaching job at Vanderbilt, and that was almost the identical situation. We inherited a program that really hadn't had a whole lot of success in the history of the SEC, and in 3 years there, we went to 3 straight bowls. We had 2 9-win seasons. I finished in the top 25 2 times. Every year, we had top 20 defenses. We put a bunch of guys in the NFL, and that was very, very similar. So, thinking about, as a problem solver, and I think that's part of what my job is, as a problem solver, I I kind of go back to those experiences and think about how those were. The game has changed a little bit, I acknowledge that, and people have changed and all that stuff, but I think I'm attacking this problem very similar to how we attacked the problem at those two situations right there. Penn State was a little different. I inherited a pretty good team, and Mississippi State as a defensive coordinator there, we inherited a really good unit, and that was a veteran unit that was ready to be really, really good.
You mentioned the game has changed, kids have changed too. I guess maybe social media is right at the top of that list.
One of the things about the game changing, one of the things, I think, and Coach will tell you this, I think Coach walks by my office every day and I'm sitting there staring at I got this big giant, I'm so excited, I got this big projector and I could fill up my whole wall with the video, and I told that's literally the thing I was excited about. It's 80 degrees outside right now and I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I called my wife and said, I got this projector and I could put the whole film on my wall. And I said, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm one of those junkies. I could wake up at 6 in the morning and I could watch film till midnight, and I enjoy that aspect of it. So I enjoy studying the game, I enjoy analytics, I enjoy trends, and the game has changed in the last 10 years. And I'm very, very proud that I've coached the #1 defense in the country on 3 different occasions, but not like 3 consecutive years with 3 consecutive teams. In 2009 at William & Mary, when the game was one style. In 2014 at Penn State, when things were getting more to the tempo / spread offense / quarterback run type things. And in 2018, when it became full all onslaught of offensive juggernauts, coming at you. So I'm very proud and very excited, and I enjoy staying up with current trends. I enjoy studying best practices on defense. I enjoy watching NFL film. I enjoy that aspect. I'm not one who I have a base that I believe in very strongly. I don't chase, the next big thing or the next fad or anything like that. Oklahoma State and Iowa State, a couple of these teams are this, 3 safety stuff, 3 down, 3 safety thing that kind of became the new fad this year. That's not what you should expect to see from us. I have what I believe in, and I enjoy studying that. As far as the players, kids are kids, and I've had a unique experience. I've coached in the Ivy League. I tell everybody this. I've had, Coach Scott's father, Coach Scott, and I were talking about this yesterday because Coach Scott's brother, John, was here, and he played at Harvard, and I coached against him when I was at Columbia, so we talked about that, and we went back and forth and needled each other a little bit on the Yale-Harvard thing, but then I've had a unique experience. I've been able to coach in a Yale-Harvard game, an Army-Navy game, a Boston College-Notre Dame game, and an Egg Bowl. That's some crazy rivalries right there, and that runs the gamut of just about anything you could possibly imagine. And everybody always asks me, what's the difference, between kids here and kids there? 18 to 22-year-old kids are 18 to 22-year-old kids. Now, the times have changed, social media, things along those lines, without question. These recruiting services and these kids being told how great they are since they were in the 9th grade and things along those lines. But I think all in all, student athletes, when they get to this level, if they want to be really good, they crave structure, they crave discipline, they want to know that you care about them, they want to, it's my job to earn their trust and respect, it's my job to be straight with them, that's my job as a leader, teacher, and role model, and help them achieve whatever goals they have as a student, as a person, and as an athlete. And that's, again, whether it's South Florida, whether it's Miami, whether it's Mississippi State or wherever it might be, I haven't changed that approach, and that's, one of the things I told every player that I've met with so far is you're going to get treated fairly, but not all players are treated the same. Fairly, yes, but not all people learn different ways. People are motivated different ways. You guys are all different. So I'm not going to coach Antonio Greer the same way as Dwayne, Boyle. I'm not going to train Christian the same way I treat Day-Day. It's all those things. Makai's certainly a high football IQ guy. He gets it. Maybe, and the next guy is not. I don't know. So, people are motivated different ways and learn different ways. So, but you're going to be treated fairly, and you're going to get coached hard.
When you coach at a place like Penn State or Mississippi State, you have a top defense. That's almost like a top of the world kind of experience. But some of the things you talked about, inheriting William & Mary, being in a cubicle at Miami.
I've seen it all.
You've had some humbling, if you want to call it that, experiences. So do you think you bring a little bit of a different perspective, kind of, as opposed to somebody who's been on the
100%
the whole time?
I think that's one of the things that Coach Scott liked. I don't want to speak for him, but I told him during the interview, I have scars. I'm battle tested. I have scars, and I've seen the good and the bad, and I think the one thing, I don't think I'll fold under pressure. I've seen most of it, and we were talking about that. I was talking about that yesterday with Coach Scott's father and John again. I think about a surgeon, and and John, Coach's brother, was a surgeon in Boston. When the Boston Marathon massacre occurred, and I think about the composure that those guys had to have under those circumstances, with all the people getting brought in with the injuries that they had, and that's my job. And I think about, so as it relates to this situation, I think about Ernie, I think about George, I think about Daquan, I think about these student athletes. I think they're looking to me as a guy of 5 decades of coaching experience, a guy who's seen the good and see the bad, to be that leader, to be composed when things get tough. And like I said, I think we're accumulation of all the experiences that we've had, good and bad. We're accumulation of all the people we've come in contact with. And I've learned from some of the best coaches, and I've learned some other coaches who I wouldn't have done things the way they have. And that's what's made me who I am today, and hopefully the person, the best version of myself that I can be on a daily basis. Manny Diaz, we were always able to do a devotional to start our staff meetings at Miami. And one day, I was asked to do a devotional, and I wanted to talk about the word integrity. And I tried to think of a definition for integrity. And integrity to me is being who you say you are all the time. And that's what I want to be to our student athletes, to our players, and to Coach Scott, and to the people of the USF community. This is who I say I am, and I want to be who I say I am all the time.
Anything else for Coach?
So what was your record as a player for Yale against Harvard?
2-2. Now, I'm so old, though, that when I played, we had freshman football. So we didn't even have, as a freshman, you were ineligible to play on the varsity. So in freshman football, in my freshman and sophomore year, we beat them. And in my junior and senior year, we lost to them. And as a coach at Yale, my first coaching job was in 1989 at Yale, and we lost to them as well. So, but John played in the early 2000s, and I was the coach at Columbia, and we did beat him. And Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback on that team, and we had a pick 6 against Ryan Fitzpatrick that sealed the game. So I'm very, very proud of that. We didn't win too many games, but at Columbia, we beat Harvard and Princeton in the same year, and that was one of the handful of only times they've ever done that. So that's really funny. Everywhere I'd go, when I said as the head coach at Columbia, they'd say, "You had like that 48-game losing streak." I said, "I wasn't the coach then. Hold on now." So you can go 7-23. They might build you a statue. So, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Joey Johnson.
Nice to meet you. Tom Lake.